Hi, it's Dennis once again, and it's time for Tuesday Talks with Pastor Dennis, where I bring a message for the children of Christ Community Church. You may have found routines to be very helpful, especially in unusual times such as this, whether that's when you get up in the morning, have your meals, do your chores, or going to bed at a reasonable hour. It's easy to understand why routines are so helpful. We live in a world that has an abundance of routines, whether that's with the rising and setting of the sun according to a schedule, or anticipating the different phases of the moon. We can calculate when there's going to be a high tide or a low tide, and we're familiar with the changing of the seasons. The closer we look, the more evident these rhythms and routines become to us. Now, God has set in place physical laws that govern those rhythms and those routines, and we're part of this physical world, but we're more than just physical beings. We're spiritual beings as well. Now, it goes to make sense that if there are routines and rhythms that are helpful in the physical realm, that there would be rhythms and routines that would be helpful for our spiritual well-being. Well, what are those routines that strengthen our spiritual well-being? Let's start with reading the Bible. Jesus had much to say about reading the Bible. He said that his words are spirit and that they are life. He remembered the Old Testament passage that said, "Man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God," which is exactly what we have in the Bible. The Bible tells us that the scriptures, the Bible, are the very words of God. 2 Timothy 3:16 reads, "All scripture is breathed out by God." That means it came from his mouth, and it's profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, and for training in righteousness. As we read the Bible, we soon discover that it gives us instruction on making good choices. The Bible teaches us what the right path is. In life, we're going to be given opportunities to make a lot of choices. And it goes to make sense that if we make different choices than what the Bible directs us to take, that we can experience different results. This is one reason that reading the Bible regularly is important. It equips us to make solid choices. Have you ever found yourself making the wrong choice? Now, I'm not talking about a math problem. I'm talking about those times when you say something that you know you shouldn't say, something that's hurtful or wrong about someone else, or maybe you've taken something that doesn't belong to you. Maybe afterwards you've asked yourself, why did I do that? In part, it's because we've drifted from the Word of God. The book of Hebrews presents an interesting downward progression. It starts with drifting from the Word of God. If left unchecked, we begin to doubt the Word of God. If we settle into that mindset, we become dull to the Word of God. And if left unabated, we find that we're enticed to despise the Word of God, which, unless we change course, brings about defiance to the Word of God, or disobedience. We have a tendency to focus merely at the defiance and wonder why we did that. Whereas the Bible reveals that our waywardness doesn't start at the point of defiance. That's just the fruit. Rather, the starting point is traced back to the root, our drifting from the Word of God. I want to encourage you to regularly engage the Bible. If you're new to this, I would point you to the Gospel of John. It's the fourth book in the New Testament. And the more you engage with the Bible as a routine and make it a rhythm of your life, you'll find that you're equipped to make solid choices. So engage the Bible regularly. Make it part of the rhythm of your life. Make it part of who you are as a child of God.